All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. Getting a little bit late start here, sorry about that, but I at least want to cover two of them today, APLD and BBAI. I'll for sure give you some of my thoughts on the NASDAQ, on the opening thoughts here too. So APLD, hey, we were all over it on the Discord. Let me just bring that up real quick. You can see we started talking about it basically on the 2nd, right? And very quickly I came to give a big thank you for calling it out, right? I totally missed it, but it's why I say I love our community so much, right? So popping pre-market on a $7 billion contract with CoreWeave. All right, so CoreWeave is not a stock that I got in. I really wish I did. I don't know if you've seen the chart or not. I'll probably pull it up a little bit later, but CoreWeave has been crushing it. All right, I don't really know a lot about the company, but for APLD to be connected with that stock and a $7 billion number, there's a lot to like right there. You know what I mean? So we were all over it when the news came. Very interesting doji the day after. And you hear me say it all the time. Dojis don't count, but the day after is generally very telling. And oh, so far, very telling to say the least, right? You know, I'll talk about this high 86 RSI, but that's some good volume right there. Volume is king, right? So interesting, right? Interesting. When I look at BBAI, look, I've been covering this one a bit, right? And BBAI was all about breaking that blue line right there, the 100 moving average. If we can get over that blue line, there is just a lot of really nice space channels with so much green, red that can just quickly green us up. I can even see that like 620 being an easy first target, right? The thing is, and you can see it, it's just been really hard to break that 100 moving average, right? So I'll talk about that line. I'll talk about the 8 and the 20 because you can see it. We've been holding the 8, but there's a reason why we say you use the 8 and the 20, and today looks like that important wick on the line kind of helped right there, right? So big two tickers, I think, to say the least. Let's quickly look at what does this look like? Oh, this wasn't a bad typo. Keep an eye on comp tomorrow. If this can get over 631, hey, an alert's not an immediate buy notification. You get over 631, there's a real nice move up to that right there, and then maybe even a little bit higher into the sevens. Interesting. Comp Q is what I wanted to type. So look, this is NASDAQ right here, right? And I don't know if you saw my post yesterday or not, but one thing I said was it looked like NASDAQ was starting to take off, right? We've been basically flat for the last, 2 weeks coming into the 3rd week, right? So this looked like the first nice little movement up. I was liking it. So far, so good. Still nothing beautiful, right? I wouldn't necessarily call that a good confirmation behind it. And obviously the doji today doesn't make me crazy excited, but I'll take the at least a little bit of a takeoff as a good thing. RSI is actually rather healthy. The weekly is also starting to shape up a little bit nicely, right? That was a good weekly candle a couple weeks ago. Pretty much doji back to back, right? That's not a good one. That's a decent one. That's the candle that matters, right? So we still have 2 more days of trading. Let's see what it looks like. But again, this is shaping up for a better weekly. It's making me think we might actually golden cross right there. And again, I've been talking about the fact that it was a low RSI on the weekly, right? So to me, I think we've got a couple more weeks to go, at least retest all-time highs. I'm just not 100% if we're going to break it just yet, but it's actually giving a pretty decent attempt, right? So NASDAQ's not bad is basically what the post said, and I think the doji kind of says today, but we're really looking for just a little bit more, right? So APLD is where we'll turn it on. So cool. Before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So real quick before I get into the technicals, I want to kind of throw out a disclaimer. Let me know if anyone else is seeing the same thing I am, all right? So When I come to the weekly chart on APLD on this system, I'm seeing that we are not at all-time highs yet. I'm seeing the 2022 price as high as like 27 all the way up here. Looks like it peaked at 27.50. When I look at the exact same stock, APLD, on my Webull app in my phone, all right, because I do use Webull on my phone, and I look at the same weekly chart, you can do it on the daily chart too, it's just easier to zoom out, right? This thing tells me that in 2022, the price was down around the $4 range. And Webull is actually telling me we're in all-time highs because, again, this is saying it was actually down here. So I don't know what system's right and what system's wrong. Again, this is why I'm not here endorsing anything, right? I'm just a dude talking about some colorful lines. But I don't know which one is the truth. I really, really don't. I don't know if this is the price up here or it should be down here. I don't know if we're in all-time highs or we're not, okay? I say that because that's driving a lot of what my thoughts ended up being, okay? So we'll at least start with the baseline. And again, so grateful for Pops dropping that. I even gave a big thank you this morning when I woke up. So the connection again was a big dollar amount and a big ticker. CRWV was the ticker, all right? When we look at CRWV, yo, that's a chart right there, right? That's the weekly. Look at this daily. It's actually already had an earnings as well. So it's not like this is some random manipulation. And to me, when your volume is pushing this high, you're not getting some random like this is a chart that's telling me this is a big good company. All right. And again, I'm not here talking about fundamentals. For all I know, they're not, and they're full of debt and this and that, right? To me, this is technical strength, right? And to me, if your random, oops, where am I trying to go to here? If your random little APLD stock is connected to this thing, let alone at a $7 billion number, oh, let's get ready, right? And look, this is where I said it looked like it was going to be testing all-time highs. Around the morning, I'm probably on my phone, you know what I mean? So Webull was telling me, hey, let's go. All-time highs is coming up here, right? But at the minimum, the connection was valid, all right? So again, this morning, I love giving my praise to the people that call it. I wish I went a little bigger, but I at least nibbled. I really did. And it was seriously because of this post. I completely missed it, right? And then this is where I started to kind of talk about all-time highs versus the chart that we're seeing. So assuming this information is correct, and when I say this information, I mean this chart right here, right? What I basically saw, I'm just going to draw it and I'm not going to zoom in too well. You can see there's a horizontal right there and right there. Let me raise it to about that. And you can see that's basically where we were living at this early, at some points of this candle. Once we break that line, it's just green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 nothing, nothing, till about 17, right? So I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1670, that makes sense. That was basically what looked like. And all I cared about today was breaking some 12 number that we clearly broke pretty well, right? So I think looking at the chart, right? Looking at this, and let's just zoom in and make our lines just that much better, right? So oh, that's a good line. It is actually a good line. I'll take it to the bottom of that because I think if we're into the bottom of that, we're way more than 50% of that. Yeah, and we're actually already over it as well. 13 is where that line is right now. Clearly, we're sitting at 13.25 at the close of the hour, right? So obviously that's over the line, but not breaking the line, right? You break this 13, I think anywhere between, like I said, that 1670 that I flashed and that 1750 is what I would expect to be next, right? I think the easy thing to call out would probably be, let's call it 1180. I think 1180 is probably going to be my next line down. I would very much say this thing is bullish as long as it stays over 1180. If you lose 1180, that's where things could get a little dicey. And yeah, look, that candle is basically the bottom. You'll probably fall to 1050 if that line is lost. So I'm not going to draw it. I keep clicking at the same place every time. So yeah, I think that's a good number. Don't lose 1180. Okay, we're definitely still bullish if we're around 12. Obviously, that's not a good place to be at this 1325 number, right? But yeah, you can drop down to 1180 and I'll still be relatively smiling, right? Gotta bounce up from there. You break this 13 and it's good to go. Again, I'm seeing after hours pretty much flat. To me, that's a good thing. It really is, right? Let's talk about the lower indicators. And you know, I normally start to ring the alarm bell when I see an 80 plus RSI. To me, I think there's a little bit of a reason to say, let's ignore this a little bit. Let's focus on how much that's diverging up, right? Like that diverging is just two lines going away from each other, right? I want green to go up and away, and really, I want it to go violently up and away, right? Like that's a nice slope. That's an even nicer slope. And all of a sudden, we're getting more and more up and away, better divergence. I'm really liking that. It's obviously in the positive as well. I'm actually really liking the fact that volume was better than yesterday. Just let's get a little bit more than what we saw on the actual day of the news, and it'll be golden, right? But I like that volume is holding between the 3 days. I like that we're improving from yesterday. Obviously, it's gone down since the news, but really, if this initial thing, this 7 billion contract with the CoreWeave company, if this was just a whatever, it would have been a louder pump and dump. It would have pumped and then dumped the volume, right? Instead, it relatively holds and then it actually grows on it today, right? So I'm liking the volume. I'm liking the MACD. I'm going to take the RSI as green over red and actually still kind of diverging. It kind of looks like the lines are still kind of going up and away from each other, right? I think what I really like is this weekly, okay? The weekly RSI is low. And the weekly RSI is kind of telling me, hey, look, as long as no silly things happen with volume, as long as next week just doesn't completely dump, this might be ready to have some good weeks behind it, right? So I like the dollar number. I like the ticker it's connected with. I like these candles. To me, we've broken all the moving averages. Doji doesn't count. That's a beautiful candle after the doji, right? So we have a bunch of golden crosses happening down there as well. Like I said, just don't lose 1180 and this is good to go. You break 13 and it just feels like there's nothing in between. Let's do one more zoom in. Let's see if we can draw one more educated line. So I would draw that right there. And damn, that's at 18. Goodness. What's 50% of that? That's almost the top of that. Let me zoom in. That's too close. No, sorry. Let me zoom in too. I know this is annoying for some people. This is literally how I do it. I'm sorry. This is the line. So I'm going to use 50% of that. Okay, I think these are our lines up. 13, 15, 18. I still like that 16 and 17 number I gave earlier, all right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let me know if you know more about CoreWeave than I do. Is it actually a good, big, and blue chip level-y company that it looks like? Like, let me know if you know more than I do. But either way, oh man, you already know it. I appreciate you so much. Let's come into BBAI, and I'm going to say it one more time. I've been a little frustrated with this ticker, all right? I know I said that on the last video. I'm going to say it again right here. Excuse me. A little bit is a little personal annoyance. I'm actually still holding this thing. You know I don't like telling you what I'm holding because believe me, if I'm holding it doesn't mean good things. Trust me. But man, I've been just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for this blue line right there to break. Our volume hasn't been bad. MACD hasn't slipped into the negative. There's just something happening, and it's probably too many moving averages. And oh man, I should listen to my own rules is really what the true story is. All right. Real quick, hey, if you can, please subscribe. If you could share this video, it does wonders with the algorithms. All right. So look, BBAI has started gaining a lot of my focus, less because of what's going on up here and a lot more because of the volume. All right. To me, and I'm not going to cover SoundHound on this video. That really wasn't my plan. But SoundHound used to be the volume one, right? SoundHound had the moments when it was pushing 300s, it was pushing 200s, and I'm talking 300 to 200 million shares a day, right? SoundHound was that for this sector. All of a sudden, just look at that shift, right? What was absolutely nothing, right, when SoundHound was going, what was absolutely nothing when SoundHound was going, is all of a sudden significantly better than what SoundHound is doing now, right? Where I just drew a nice little uptrend towards the end of it. This thing's an embarrassing downtrend that's significantly lower than the beginnings, right? So, and again, you can see it. It was the March and it was the December pops, BBAI. It was there, but not to the magnitude. It was there, but not to the magnitude. Yo, something different is going on now, right? So to me, a lot of my BBAI shift was actually volume. And again, you hear me say it all the time, volume is king. All right. You also hear me say I live and die by the moving averages. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of like which one matters more, right? And like I said, I'm holding this thing. So clearly I picked volume here. And I think that was the wrong pick. I probably should have waited for the moving averages, right? But again, less about what I'm doing and more about learning together, right? So that's at least just some of my personal thoughts right here. Again, I kind of think I gave away most of the technical thoughts, but look, it's all about the moving average and it's all about the 100. And as good as volume has been and as good as we've been to the average line and all those words, and as much as we've just been riding this 8 up, 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 yo, moving averages are hard to break. They are. And even me, even the dude that's here trying to make videos saying strategy and state of rules and this and that, yo, I'm a human. I'm a dude, right? Like I get greedy. I want to buy down here and sell up there too sometimes, right? But yeah, there's a reason why I say the words and why waiting really is the answer. Look, what I think I want to do is raise the line to that. I think at this point, I really want to get over the biggest candle to the left, which at the moment is this 527 candle. We get, and then let me just zoom out. What does that actually look like? I actually like that move, right? We're basically at the bottom of that, basically at the top of that, not quite 50%, basically at the top of that. Also the wick of that. I don't really use wicks much, but yeah, I think that's a probably a better line. And again, breaking 450 and going to 550, yo, that's a 25% move. Rough math, right? You only have $4. You're adding a fifth dollar, right? And then obviously from there, there's bigger, better numbers, right? But yeah, I should have lived and died by the moving averages like I normally say. This was all about breaking the 100 and just it hasn't done it yet, right? MACD is been there, right? We've stayed positive. We've actually been green over red for pretty much all of it, right? And again, we're back to green over red. RSI's been really flat, and I think that's again these are important lower indicators, and in some ways they're I talk about like gas in the tank a lot on the Discord, right? These aren't the things that tell me if there's gas in the tank, but it at least lets me think if someone's near the gas station or not. You know what I mean? And hey, we've at least been positive and all, like it's been close. It just can't do it. All right. So again, I said it a little bit earlier. When there's too many moving averages, it's a bad thing. It really is. I talk about good channel spacings often, and that's just not what's here right now. There was a beautiful one right there, right? And it went from down here to up there because there wasn't that many moving averages in that space. But all of a sudden, like we're literally at a new moving average within a few cents, and that's not a good thing, right? So um, overall, at least the 20 did the job. I guess in some ways you can say the bad line's probably 365. Don't lose $3.65. You'll probably drop down to 325. That's a little bit more than 10% drop right there, right? So I think those are the two lines that I got right there. 365 on the way down, break 350, and that's what we like, right? Excuse me, sorry, I think I need a little bit of water. This is an interesting weekly chart, okay? And I think the weekly chart is maybe what's kept me the most excited overall. Because again, I think this daily is really noisy. The weekly has a little bit better spacing, but you can also say, hey, there's too many lines too close to each other right here, right? But hey, it looks like this is trying to get over the last one here. Not quite doing it here, but kind of quite doing it there. Sorry, the answer was yes, not no, right? So it's doing it on both the weekly and the daily. Let's see where the next two lines end. It's close. It's just not there. That's kind of all I got to say on this. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.